There are a lot of topics in civil services which don't going to be having a direct manifestation as far as the syllabus is concerned. That means they're not going to be found in the syllabus, and also that you cannot going to make it out also that they are part of the syllabus at all. That is not going to be generally possible. Now, what we can go to think of it is that there are going to be good number of topics which are going to be having an indirect manifestation, and all of these indirect manifestations that we think of, that we talk of, these indirect manifestations happen to be reflecting themselves in the type of questions that is going to be asked. For example, I'm just going to think of it on this topic, human ecological adaptation, which doesn't going to be having a direct manifestation. The type of question that can possibly be asked is going to be associated with number one is, that is one of the features of Bushman women in Kalahari is that they have steatopygia. And the option will be given is that. Now that is something that is genetic. Second is it's an adaptation to the climate. The third is that is done essentially with an aim to adapt themselves so that they have to go without food and they can go it easily. And the fourth is that is a morphological feature. That goes on to become one question. Pick up a second question. That is the Eskimos built their igloo in cold conditions and the temperature inside the igloo is going to be 10 degrees centigrade, 20 degrees centigrade, 1 degree centigrade, minus 5 degrees centigrade. Now that can be a very, very direct question, but that is part of this topic here. Pick up a third topic as well. That is, in case the Eskimos have to survive in such type of a cold condition as that of the Arctic region, then they have to follow certain type of a lifestyle. Consider the following statements. Number one, number two, number three, and so on. Number one can be they have to drink a lot of seal oil. Number two can go on to be they have to build igloo. Number three can go on to be that they have to have a dressing sense that is going to be in consonance with the climatic condition and they have to wear seal furs. Number four will be that is they have to drink a lot of liquor also. Now, accordingly, you will have to mark it correct or not. Maybe a fourth type of question that can possibly be asked and that can be associated with consider the following statements with respect to adaptation of the people in the cold conditions of Siberia. These people have a lot of fat deposits on their face which is responsible for protecting their face against bitter cold. Number two is that is these people going to be having a good amount of a very large amount of fat deposit that is going to be on their body so that they are able to protect themselves from cold conditions and so on and so forth. Now this is going to be the nature of the topic. Our concern is that whether it is going to be in the syllabus or not, you have to study that because an understanding of this topic, a study of this topic will go to help you frame your concept in such a manner that you will be able to connect a lot of topics in ecology and environment and agriculture. And because you will be able to connect a lot of topics in ecology, environment and agriculture, consequently, you will be finding yourself in a better position to answer these questions as well. Picking up this topic, the topic is going to be human ecological adaptation essentially refers to the adaptation that the human body requires to have, the adaptation that the people go on to have, the adaptation that people are likely to have during their entire of the genetic makeup, in their entire genetic makeup or in variety of forms. So any type of adaptation that allows any person to be peaceful, to be in consonance with their environment and in different environmental conditions. So one of these adaptations is going to be genetic adaptation. That is, some people going to be genetically modified that they are able to live in those type of places. Like the makeup of the genes in this manner. That is, people who are going to be adapted to living in some places like that of cold conditions, warm places, and so on. Although genetically, a good number of people throughout the whole of the world are made up in the same manner. Physiologically, That is long term and short term. We're going to find that some people are going to be having a higher, that is their lung capacity is going to be larger. Now that is an adaptation for people who are living in cold conditions, and that too at a very, very high elevation where the amount of oxygen requirement is going to be not high, but then the oxygen content in the atmosphere is going to be low. Yeah, you must going to correlate this part. All the soldiers who are posted in Kargil, do you know that these soldiers are never allowed to exercise? Never allowed to exercise. Why? Because in such type of a thin and rarefied atmosphere, exercising is going to be against your body. All in all, it goes on to go against your body. So the lung size of the people living in that region is going to be larger. Now bring these people on the plains and they will going to start running faster. Of course, you will also going to find that the oxygen content and hemoglobin content is going to be also very high in this place, and oxygen affinity in their blood is going to be very high, and that allows it to be. That is one part that is physiological. Most of the people who are going to be in living in warm conditions, they similarly going to be having some different type of physiologies. At the third is going to be at the growth and the development level. Now, when we are going to be talking about the growth and development level, you think of many things. For example, what can be that? That is going to be associated. This part is going to be associated with how is it that people go on to keep on growing and in trying to, you go on to place one person who has taken birth in Siberia and you're going to place it in Africa, in the forest regions of Africa, you're going to find certain type of changes going in them. And when you're going to find some of these type of changes going in them, you will going to observe that is going to be at the growth and the development level. Everyone is going to be getting themselves adapted in such a condition. You may have seen one heptathlon winner, that was Jerry Thompson. He was a Negro who was living in Africa. Now he was a very, very good player. He was very good in javelin throw, running and whatnot, all of this in decathlon and some of these games. He came and lived in Britain, and he was one of the topmost ranking player in that game. And when you're going to take a look at him, you will going to find that he is almost whitish color. He is not completely black. Now that is the change that has taken place in his complexion, and that is going to be at the growth and the development level. Then there are going to be certain type of changes that are taking place at the cultural level as well. Now, when we are talking about cultural level, then the theme in this case is how is it that the people going to adapt themselves culturally? And when we are going to be talking about cultural adaptation, then take an example. The type of houses they're going to build, the type of dress that they're going to wear, the type of food habits that they're going to have. Now, all of this is going to be part of cultural adaptation. And of course, you can go on to have a cultural adaptation to such an extent that you can go to modify your diet. So, consequently, you're going to observe that the diet that has evolved in southern part of India is going to be very, very different from the diet that has evolved in the northern part of the country. Now, both of them don't going to be matching. Of course, from a complete health point of view, the South Indian diet is much, much, much more better than anything else. Now, that is because of a lot of factors in this case. So, pick up the first case. What exactly is the cultural adaptation morphologically speaking? Now, morphologically speaking, the cultural adaptation that we're going to be having, it is going to be, one is reflected itself in skin color. That is going to be one. Now, skin color is a product of its climate. Darker skin color basically means that the pigmentation in the skin is going to be dark. A darker skin coloration, as you can go to take a look at it here, in this case, in this lady, this is where you're going to find that is everyone's complexion has evolved out of a response to the sunlight, the intensity of the sunlight, and also because of a lot of other factors as well. So skin color goes on to be one component. There is a very intense sunlight, that will going to mean that the skin color is going to be darker, and that is largely because of the pigmentation. Thick pigmentation. A lighter skin color is indicative of the fact that the climate has been by and large that is very, very cold, and the sun's light is also not going to be so intense. So you're going to find that all the people who go on to live in the equatorial regions, in the southern part of the country, in true tropical conditions, they are dark skinned. It has nothing to do with the concept of beauty, because it is, and some of the people who are going to be talking about so-called races, they are themselves racial, because it has nothing to do with race at all. People can be very intelligent in those regions as well. People can be very intelligent in other places as well. People can be very, very creative in a good number of conditions. They can go on to be in Andaman Nicobar as well, provided they go on to get a right milieu in which they can go on to flaunt their talent of sorts. So that is going to be another part. Skin color is going to be one component. Second is the color of hair and the nature of the hair. Now, when you're going to take a look at the color of the hair can be black, it can be white, it can be light color, it can be golden as well. A black color is again in response to climatic conditions. And when you're going to be having a black coloration, that is the temperature in those conditions are very high. And when you're going to be having a nature of the hair, that can go on to be a variety of types. For example, this nature of hair can go on to be, one of this nature is going to be frizzly in nature. Now just going to think of it. That is, if you're going to be having your head, that is, this is going to be your head, you're going to find some of the hair will going to grow like bushes here and there on the head. This is how it will go on to grow. In this case, now this type of a hair is a adaptation to the fact that the temperatures are very, very high, and that there must be a good amount of an open space on the head to radiate this temperature back into space. And that is going to be one part of it. It's going to be called by peppercorn. That is going to be the name that is going to be given to it. It's going to be called as peppercorn hair, and that is going to be found with the Maasai tribes. Then you're going to find some people going to be having a woolly hair. Some people hair color is going to be blonde, that is golden. Now it's not also going to be a sign associated with a good looking, attractive or so on. Of course, let's say someone who is living in India, they may be fed up of taking a look at the people who have brownish hair color, brownish hair, and suddenly they're going to find something that is going to be golden. They may go on to like the difference, but then that is nothing associated with being attractive or non-attractive of sorts. And concept of beauty is a completely ethical phenomena. If you're yourself beautiful, you're going to find everyone beautiful. If you can go to make someone feel beautiful, you are beautiful. If you can't go to make anyone beautiful, feel beautiful, there's absolutely no way that you can go to look beautiful as well. So the color of the hair is indicative of it. The nature of the hair, that is whether the hair is going to be straight, which is going to be in the people who are living in the so-called, I'm using the word so-called Mongolite group of people, and it's not a racial group. I mean, that's the reason that I'm using the word so-called, essentially for the purpose of making you understand this part. The so-called Mongolite group of people. Brownish hair color is going to be associated with good number of people who are living in India, who are living in Pakistan and other regions. And a white hair color, blonde hair color, or light hair color is going to be associated with all of those people who are living in Europe, where the amount of sunlight and sunshine is going to be less. And that is what we are going to be mostly concerned with in this case. That is going to be one part. Then color of the eyes. We are talking about color of eyes. So whether you're going to be having a black color eyes, or whether you're going to be having a blue color eyes, or whether you're going to be having brownish color or light brown, that is indicative of the fact whether the amount of sunshine in that place is very, very intense or not. If the sun's rays are going to be very, very intense, then you're going to have a black eye coloration. So if it is that is sunlight, black eye is going to be associated with a black sunlight. You're going to be having a brown one, that is going to be where the conditions are going to be lighter. And then a very light one, maybe white, maybe golden. Now that is going to be associated with again those conditions where the sunlight is not going to be very intense. Like in all of those places of Europe where the amount of sunlight is not going to be very, very high. Take the case of the form of the eyes, and you will going to take a look at it. Form of the eyes. For example, when you're going to take a look at the form of the eyes, you will going to take a look at this type of eye. This is going to be one type of an eye. This is going to be another type of an eye. In this case, you're going to find that beneath this eye, there is going to be a fold. There is going to be deep fold. Now, that type of a fold is what we're going to be calling it as epicanthic fold. That is the name that is going to be given to it, epicanthic fold. Now, it is this epicanthic fold that is responsible for protecting the people from a good amount of cold conditions in these regions. And that is a part of it. This is associated with it. There is going to be the form of the eyes. Now, these people also going to be having a slit-like opening of the eyes. It's like a normal Indians will going to have such type of an eye form. While these people are going to have an eye form that is going to be having a slit-like. It's going to be almost like that. That is it looks like that there is in front of eye that going to be a black thread of sorts. Now, that is essentially in response to cold climatic conditions, because in the such type of cold climatic condition, you require to have such type of an epicanthic fold and not this type of an eye form. This epicanthic fold protects the person from eyes from facing too much amount of cold as well. Then the other part is going to be associated with what we're going to talk of shape and size of the nose. How is it that the nose going to look like? Now you're going to take a look at it. In this case, this is going to be one of this nose. This is going to be one part of it, and that you're going to find broad flat nose with the nostrils of the nose that is going to be very, very wide. Now, why is it that that nose evolves, and why is it that some of this type of a nose can go on to evolve in this case here? So there are going to be reasons behind it. For example, when you are going to be living in cooler conditions, then you have to breathe in cool air. As you're going to breathe cool air, the air goes on to go inside your nose, it goes on to get compressed, it goes on to get heated, and then you're going to get inhale. While there's another reason for it, that you are not, when you try to exhale, you don't go to exhale your entire heat out of your body also. So a long, narrow nose prevents that type of an exhaling as well. Take another example, that is broad, flat nose, which go on to be, of course, technically called by a different name all in all. Now, in this case, when you are in a warm condition, warm and humid condition, in all this warm and humid condition, what you try to do is that in such type of warm, humid condition, you always going to exhale. And when you're going to exhale, in trying to exhale, what you do is, in trying to exhale, you go on to release a good amount of your body heat. That means the vapor inside your body and also the temperature inside your body, and that is responsible for cooling you down as well. And that is an adaptation. This is going to be a morphological adaptation. There are other forms of morphological adaptation. For example, you're going to pick up some of these things like that of body stature. Now, by body stature, we mean that is how long or short a person goes on to be. You're going to find, for example, people who are living in Kenya, Maasai people in Kenya. Now, all of those Maasai people who are living in Kenya, you're going to observe they're very, very tall, very tall. While people living in the northern part of the region, they are Eskimos, they are short, they are very, very broad, and they're very flat also. That means they're almost squarish in shape, almost squarish in shape. Now, that will go on to mean something completely different. So what we are going to be talking about here is that while you go on to be having a very tall and lanky body, that means the surface area of the body goes on to become very, very large, so that you are in a better position to radiate the heat. While when you are going to be short and stocky, that means the surface area is going to be generally small, and that you are able to protect your body heat also in this case. So tall stature is an adaptation to heat conditions, adaptation to outside heat conditions in this case here. Other is going to be fat pad deposits to protect from cold stress. You're going to find some people, as we have taken the example as well, that is on the face of Eskimo, you're going to find a good amount of a fat deposit. Why? Because when the Eskimo is going to move in any region, while trying to move across in any region, they go on to face a lot of cold air. It is this cold air which is largely responsible for protecting them. You will go on to find that these are the various types of fat deposits that you're going to be having it at. That is it's more biological. That is a visceral fat deposits, epicardial, mesenteric, omental, and gonadal, and subcutaneous fat deposits. These are the subcutaneous fat deposits that we are going to be talking about, which are mostly going to be found in small children, and that's one of the reasons that they don't going to feel so cold as well. to an extent that is also going to be associated with women as well. And also there is a gluteal and femoral, both of them are going to associate with women. You're going to find that, and you may have observed it in a party that is being thrown up, the girls are going to be wearing nothing except their only sari, and they're going to be flaunting this dress, while men are shaking with so much amount of a cool condition. And that is one of those type of adaptations that you're going to be having with these type of people. So flat part deposits go on to get themselves modified in response to this type of a cold stress. And then there are other forms of cold stress as well. And when we are going to be talking about other forms of cold stress, we are essentially going to be talking about some conditions like being in very cold conditions, you do go on to be having not only fat, but also some of these cultural conditions that you're going to get modified. That will be dealt in separately. Pick up another aspect of it, that is the flat reserves in the Bushmen. Now the flat reserves in Bushmen is going to be basically in this form. That is these type of flat deposits. And why is it that they are going to be important in this case here? That is going to be in their buttocks, and their buttocks going to become very, very large, as you can go to understand it. If you can go to make it, that is how the buttocks of the Bushman women will go on to be. And what exactly is the basic reason behind it? The basic reason is that it is in this type of fat that they're going to deposit a good amount of their energy. While because they keep on moving in such type of a condition, and they have to keep on moving with their small children. That is why they may go on to go without food for a day or 2 or 3 of them. It is this fat that is responsible for giving them some type of energy. And such type of a fat is going to be called by the name of steatopedia. That is the name that is going to be given to them. This is the name that is going to be given to them, steatopedia. Now, while we're going to be talking about steatopedia is prominent among Bushman women. And not only that, it is prominent among men as well. And you're going to find that the men also going to be having a similar type of fat deposit, particularly taking place around their buttocks. Now, mostly in Indian condition, most of the fat that goes on to get deposited is going to be abdominal fat, not is going to be in their buttocks. People going to be living in cold condition, they will going to have a massive amount of a fat deposit in their shoulders, in their thighs, in the upper part of their body. And that is largely, of course, in order to protect themselves from such type of a cold condition. In a similar manner, there is going to be some amount of a biological modification that is going to be taking place at high altitudes. Now, this is the place where we are going to be having such type of a biological modification. And when we are going to be talking about such type of a biological modification, in this case, it is this biological modification going to be in the form of the lung size. That's going to be one, and a higher oxygen affinity of their blood and their hemoglobin. 2 of them that are going to be significant in this case. So what the Chinese going to do is just going to give you a manipulation. What the Chinese try to do is that most of the people who are living in the higher regions, they make them adapt in running in those type of places. And when they have adapted themselves in running in those type of places, they're going to bring them in the plains, where there is an abundance of oxygen. And these people start running really fast because it is almost like that of oxygen doping. But then no one can go on to get it at all. And this is because these people can go on to have a higher lung size. The lung size is going to be much more bigger than the people who are going to be living in the plains in this case. That is going to be one of those type of biological adaptations in this case. So that's a morphological adaptation. But then more important than morphological adaptation is the cultural adaptation. And why is it that the cultural adaptation is going to be significant? This is largely because humans have a high degree of mobility. That is going to be one. There is a lot of intermixing also that goes on to be taking place here. But then this intermixing is not going to be too prominent also. It's not that people from Australia will go to mix with people of Africa, but then the mobility is going to be high. One time you are going to be in Africa, another time you are in Siberia, the third time you are going to be in Arctic region, the fourth time you are going to be in India. Now the people have kept on moving. And consequently, not only because they have kept on moving, but because they are in a position to modify their environment, and they do modify their environment, and their ability to modify their environment has allowed them to have a higher degree of a cultural modification in comparison to that of any type of biological adaptation. Now take the case of the Maasai animals. Now it was found in Kenya, highlands of Kenya, that the Maasai people were rearing light colored cattle in those places wherever the temperatures were high, and a dark coat of cattle in those places where the temperatures were relatively lower. Now, they themselves never had an idea why is it that they were doing it so. Now, when this study was done and when this study was found, it was found that the light coat of these animals allows a good amount of sunlight to be reflected, and the dark coat allows a lot of sunlight to be absorbed. And because there is going to be a good amount of absorption of sunlight or even reflection of this sunlight, what happens is all of those animals who are living in these places, these animals have got themselves adapted in such type of a condition. So light and dark colored coat of these animals, Maasai going to be keeping it, and inadvertently they never knew that, but now we know that is essentially with this reason. That is a cultural adaptation. In a similar manner, you're going to find birth spacing taking place in the Bushman women. Now, Bushman women go on to move along with their young ones. Now, these Bushman women who go on to move along with their young ones, they have one of their young one on the back, and they keep on moving. There is another one who is going to be with the father. The father is going to be moving bows and arrows in this case. So the father is going to be moving with bows and arrows. He keeps on moving, and the Bushman wife keeps on following it from behind. Now, this Bushman wife must go on to keep a proper spacing of themselves in these regions. And when we say that there must be a proper spacing found in this place, that means, and that will go on to mean, that what exactly are the devices? If they can go to have two children on their back, can you imagine? They can't go to move. And in case of any type of an attack by any of these animals, they won't be able to escape. So they must be light-footed. They must not go to have too many children at the same time. And no one knows it. How is it that the Bushman women going to manage it? But they are able to manage such type of a birth spacing in the children. And that is again cultural. It is not something that is endowed by nature. They must be eating something, they must be doing something here, and that is how they are able to space the children. Pick up the third one. There is a change in the lifestyle of Eskimos due to new technology. Now, Eskimos used to be hunting with bows and arrows, spears, and they're going to be hunting seals, they're going to be hunting reindeers. And what exactly is the new type of a change that has taken place? The new type of a change that has taken place is that they are able to do it with the help of their guns. And instead of sledges, they're going to move in a different form altogether. What had happened is that has allowed their life to become much more settled also. That's a new adaptation. In a similar manner, you're going to find there is a people in one place, only in one place in the world, they keep on waiting for the landslide. And why is it that they keep on waiting for the landslide? They keep on waiting for the landslide only for one reason, that is in Nepal. There is what landslide is going to do is that they are responsible for exposing a fresh soil. It is this fresh soil that is going to be used for the purpose of cultivation. And that is landslide is an inevitability. You cannot go to change that part. But then adapting to landslide will go on to mean that you have a cultural adaptation. And that cultural adaptation is that you keep on waiting for the landslide. In a similar manner, people in some places in Bihar keep on waiting for the floods, like in Diara region. And when the floods come, they immediately some islands come up, emerge, and these are the islands that they start using it for the purpose of growing vegetables in this place. And these vegetables are real good vegetables. They are completely biologically grown in this place. And of course, that's going to be very, very good all in all. So, landslide is going to be used as a tool for a cultural adaptation in Nepal. In a similar manner, you will also going to find polyandry being practiced in Tibet. Now, one form of polyandry is going to be called as a polygamy. That is going to be one form of it. Polygamy is going to be one form where a girl goes on to marry 3 or 4 males. A female is able to have 3 or 4 male husbands. Now, why does this happen? Now, this happens in almost all of those places, all of the regions wherever there is a paucity of resource base. When there is a paucity of a resource base, what you observe is that is in such type of a resource base deficiency, if you're going to produce more children, then these children will going to start putting pressure on the land. And if the pressure on the land goes on decrease, the whole of the society is going to collapse. It's like if one girl goes on to marry one boy and they're going to produce 2 children, maybe 3 children, somehow it goes on to become 3 children, then there is one person that is going to be extra at one point of a time. Maybe even 2 will going to be an extra. So what they're going to do is that they're going to have two or three husbands, and that is the picture of a happy family that you're going to find in Ladakh. You have one wife and then you have the 4 or 5 smiling children, 3 husbands. All of them are very, very happy. Now, the same thing has been interpreted by the Britishers or anyone else in a very, very ugly manner, largely because these people have no idea about how is it that this type of a cultural landscape has evolved in these regions. But then such type of a polygyny is an ingenious method to preserve the resource base and also to allow population not to increase in this place. These 2 forms of adaptation that we're going to be talking of, that is, we are talking about a cultural adaptation, we are going to be talking about a morphological adaptation. This is how human beings have been able to adapt themselves in different type of climatic conditions, in different type of agroclimatic places. Now, most of these questions that you are going to be asked in this case is going to be associated with these type of examples. And the concept that has been given to you, that will go on to form a base by way of which you will be able to pick up that part and can go on to have that bent of a mind whereby you can go on to answer a good number of questions, like the case of the landslide, like the case of floods that we took into account, like why is it that Eskimos will go on to have such a high amount of fat deposit on their face, what exactly is the type of a lifestyle that they go to follow, moving on sledge, and so on and so forth. What is the type of a village in which the Masai people will go on to live? That's called as a Kral unit. But then that is all going to be along with the studies that will going to supplement this chapter and this conceptual base through speech that we may have inserted in you.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.